This is TWiT. Jason got his HomePods.
I did.
Gen 2.
I had a Sonos one, an original HomePod, a new HomePod, and a HomePod Mini all lined up in a row.
Oh,
Stereo pairs.
To see how they sound.
Lined up in both sides of my office. You did a test.
I
did the whole thing. And the answer is the problem is not how they sound.
Okay. What's the problem?
The problem is everything else. The problem is that Airplay is not reliable, that Siri is not reliable, and that the stereo pair system that they built is not reliable.
Oh, no. That's disappointing.
So, in the end, would I recommend HomePods to my friends who are super techie and care about sound? Yes, because they sound good. They sound really good. They sound about the same as the old ones. They're not the same. They sound different,
They
but
have fewer tweeters.
yeah, although the high end actually sounds, I think, more clear than in the first generation. It's a little less bassy than the first generation, but in the end, if somebody snuck into your house and swapped the old ones out for the new ones, most people would never notice. They look the same essentially. They sound same-ish, not the same, but same-ish. The problem is that in all of my testing of all these things, I kept on having one of them didn't play. But it was still on and it would still respond to the sounds.
They were stereo pairs, but only
stereo
one
play.
channel.
Only one plays. I press pause. I play it again. Now two play. Then I pause. Then I play it again. Now one play. And I tested it on Mac. I tested it on AirPlay from an iPad, from an iPhone. I tried it right on the device. Just super
frustrating.
Super unreliable. The old one wasn't particularly reliable either. This isn't new. This has been a problem with the HomePod stuff from the beginning. Siri, people like to beat up on Siri. The problem with Siri is not that it can't be good. It's that it's not reliable. That sometimes I get answers back from Siri almost immediately, or it'll play something almost immediately. And then other times it just spins forever, doesn't understand me, doesn't know what to do, or it identifies what I want to play, and then it hands it off to Apple Music, and Apple Music just sort of doesn't play it. So I think it's just a fundamental problem with Apple's whole kind of smart home infrastructure here, that they've made a really good sounding speaker, but it's just, I would never inflict this on one of my friends who's not in the tech industry, who's just like, hey, Jason, I'm looking for some smart speakers. What should I get? And I'm like, I could never recommend them a stereo pair of HomePods.
Interesting.
Now,
my Apple TV is always saying, come on, you want to use those HomePods for speakers, right? I say, no, I have speakers, but it keeps saying it. Is it a good choice for a TV? Apple TV?
I mean, maybe. I haven't tried that in a little while. The problem is when the Apple TV is driving the stereo pair, is it reliable or not?
Right.
And then the other challenge is
is it laggy? Would bother me.
You're setting up a stereo pair. You're getting a stereo out. I have a 5.1 system. You get the center channel. I really like having the center channel, but you could do it. I mean, there's some options there. If you're playing video games, you shouldn't do it because you're going to, even though it will route your audio from your TV back into the Apple TV and out to the HomePods, you're going to introduce some lag there. And I wouldn't recommend that.
Bluetooth is a little bit laggy.
It may be doing Wi-Fi direct. I don't even know exactly what it's doing there.
Yeah.
Anyway, they sound good, but I feel like everybody who writes about how they sound is kind of missing the fact that they're just not reliable.
Come to think of it, my minis, every once in a while, one of the channels won't work.
I mean, they've had these products out there for 5 years now, and the stereo pair stuff still is
the same thing.
It just, sometimes I will, over the years, because I've had a HomePod since the beginning and a stereo pair in my house, I will say, why do they sound so weird? And it's almost always because one of them has just stopped playing audio until I unplug them both, plug them back in, and then usually it'll come back. But it just happens. They're not unplugged. They're still on the network. They're still visible. It still thinks it's a stereo pair. But one of them just I'm taking to the day off.
It might be hard to do. It might be hard to do.
I think it is hard to do.
I mean, other speakers do a better job of it?
I think Sonos' stuff does a better job of it, and it's more reliable, yeah.
I have to admit, I'm so bitter about the way the Sonos handled their amp, which I have a lot of, that they just stopped.
Abandoned it, yeah.
Yeah.
They just, I was like, okay.
Did you push this review yesterday on sixcolors.com?
Yeah.
They did do an update yesterday on the HomePods, so.
Yeah, but I think that was the security update. I was updated to the latest versions. I don't think that this problem that's been outstanding for all this time suddenly got fixed yesterday.
Well, mine come tomorrow.
I did update it to last week's updates
before I bought it.
And You know, if it works, well, yeah, but you know about troubleshooting. I think that's what I came back to is like conventional computer troubleshooting stuff can handle a lot of this. You can say, okay, I recognize there's a problem here. I'm going to restart. I'm going to do a HomeKit update. I'm going to unplug them and replug them.
You're so right on because Lisa will get it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I said, well, yeah, but you have to, it works, but you have to do this and this and this and this and it'll work. She said, I'm not going to do, I don't know. What are you talking about?
If my friend Sean from down the block said, Jason, I want some smart speakers, I'm not going to recommend, I'm going to say, are you sure you want smart speakers?
And even if you know how to fix it, it's kind of annoying that you have to fix it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's very annoying.
Yeah.
And it's just an AirPlay. I don't want to just say it's the stereo pair because it's not just that. It's like AirPlay 2 is not really reliable. I do AirPlay music in my office every day, and like even there, it sometimes a track finishes and the next track starts to play and no music comes out, and Apple Music thinks it's playing music, but no music is playing. And if I go to the next track, then the music starts playing again, and that's just AirPlay 2. So I don't know what to say.
They're all a little. I mean, I have in my bedroom area Apple's Siri with minis. I have Google and I have Echo. This morning, before I was dreaming peacefully, and all of a sudden, the Star Wars Death March came on, loud. I don't know which speaker. So I'm like, my eyes are closed. I go dum 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 dum, and I'm shouting. So I had to shout all three. I said, Siri, shut up. Echo, shut up. Google, shut up. And finally it stopped. I don't know who it was or which was playing, but it was quite annoying. And I asked Lisa, I said, did you just play the Darth Vader's Death March in the bedroom? She said, no. Maybe the kid did. That's just the kind of joke he might try. Or could it just have randomly done it? Or
were you hacked?
I was hacked.
Did you get hacked?
Because that's happened before. There's one of I love him. One of our chatters, nice guy. I had to finally block it. Like Happy Valentine's Day, Leo, through my Echo.
Oh my God! Don't do it.
You know who you are. It's okay. I liked it. I appreciate it. But I did finally kind of say nobody should be able to call me. No drop-ins.
The best luck I've had. Like I have some Sonos speakers. The Sonos app talking to the Sonos speakers is more reliable than AirPlay. The Sonos
I like it that it's
support,
Giancarlo Esposito.
Sure, you can do that.
I like that. He's no, you can't do it. It's his voice. That's the Sonos voice.
Yeah, and
you can't choose it. It's him.
I just don't use the voice for Sonos. I just use the Sonos app, which isn't very good is the problem, but it is reliable. And Spotify,
the app works fine.
The Sonos app also, the Sonos speakers support Spotify Connect, and that's also more reliable. So, you know, the challenge here for Apple is that I just don't think.
Why did they bring it back?
I don't know.
What were they thinking?
It sounds good. I think internally they believe that their software is more solid than it is. I think that's it.
That's not good. Because it's not. So would you say, well, no, you said, Steve, don't buy it. Neighbor Steve, don't buy it.
Right.
But Geek, maybe buy it.
Sure. Anybody who is willing to do did you unplug it and plug it back in? Anybody who knows those sorts of things.
Poor Lisa.
You could figure it out. Or toggling the AirPlay or getting it back to the right status on your iPhone where you're playing it to the speakers and not to your own phone or all of that stuff. If you get through all of that, you can make it work, and it sounds good. It does. And I have had them for 5 years.
Yes, she has one in her office here and one in her office at home. I don't think she ever uses it. I thought for Valentine's Day, it would be kind of nice to replace the minis with the full-size ones. So when the cat steps on it, it really blasts us out.
That's good. You get the bass response.
Yeah, get the bass response. Dum, 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 bum, 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 bum.
It does get really tough with when you're doing streaming to a local speaker over Wi-Fi. Every time that I look, I sometimes have that problem. Every time that I look into other people's experiences, particularly on like professional network administrators boards, because they have all the software and all the tools to like radio scan.
Yeah.
They always find that there's something nearby on the network that's interfering with whatever line of communication that is being tried and set to the speaker. So really, if you don't have, unless you have an anechoic RF shielded chamber, it's really hard to test these things out, because all you got to do is have somebody who has some quirky piece of hardware, whether it's a brand new subset system from a competing company or a really, really, really old piece of hardware or old microwave. You don't know why it's randomly disconnecting until you upgrade your microwave, and then suddenly it goes away and you never notice it.
Should we say just if you care about sound, you should get wired speakers? Should we say that?
Well, they'll be way cheaper.
They'll be cheaper, and they're more reliable,
and
they don't become obsolete when the technology changes. You don't have to get version 3 of your speakers.
Or an all-in-one speaker. Like, there are also stereo speakers. Like, Sonos makes the Sonos 5 that is not cheap.
We have all over the studio.
But it sounds so great.
Yeah.
And it's all-in-one, so it's not going to, like, one of the speakers, one tweeter is not going to go, oh, I've lost the plot, right? Like happens with the HomePod. So there's a lot to be said to that.
I still say get wired, because
and certainly the wired. You can get wired speakers that sound way better than any smart speaker on the market for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to have
an amp,
an
amp and wires and
wires.
I mean,
no, there are lots of reasons not to. But depending on your use case, if you just want a stereo pair and you can just put them on, two sides of a table.
I have
with
ELAC
wires.
speakers everywhere, with wires and an amp, AV receiver everywhere. That's what I
strongly prefer wired for everything.
Yeah.
So I do as little wireless. I do wireless, but I do as little as possible.
There are
with everything that I do in production and home and everything else. But I do, it is convenient. Like we grabbed we have the older HomePod, the bigger one, and we take it everywhere in the house. Like we just kind of move it around as needed and set it down. It is nice. I will say it's convenient to be able to turn it on and just have it sound good in some room. And so I think that there's definitely a place for both of those. But I think that the wired is always going to give you, if you're really an aficionado, you're going to get a wired set of speakers, and you might start with stereo, and then I do wish that the HomePods had some kind of, analog in. I know that sounds crazy for Apple, but it would be nice to have like just an 1/8 inch
for that amount of money. Why not have it?
Yeah, I have been using. I just stopped last year, but I was using an iPod Hi-Fi. Remember that?
Yeah,
but it has an aux in, and it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound as good as the Sonos 5, but it sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
but it has the aux port in, and these things, Sonos has some speakers that have that plug in, but the Apple stuff it doesn't. So at some point, if it's not supported by software in some way, they're just they're useless, and they're not very versatile, because if you want to run an input into them, you just can't. You can't do it.
Yeah,
the 5 is $549.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Speaker.
It sounds great.
Yeah. We have
it's not cheap.
We have the old Moves, which is nice because in the kitchen, because the Moves are portable, so they sit on a charging stand, but like Alex was saying, you could just pick them up, and they're $100 more than the Apple thing. So I don't know. I don't know if they're better sounding. I'll put them.
I don't think they sound as good, but
they're portable. They have a battery in there, which is nice, and they do AirPlay too. And they have Giancarlo Esposito is in there, the head of Los Pollos Hermanos. He's not very smart. He's always saying, I don't know what you want, but it's nice because he's in there, and I like him.
Maybe it's better if your smart assistant has that attitude, right? It's like, what do you want?
What do you want? I'm busy. Here.
I don't know. Beat it.
I got an empire to run.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, but your game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. But you already knew all that. What you may not know is that TWiT now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club TWiT Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club TWiT exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club TWiT member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.